Welcome back to 365 Unlimited. We are back with another episode and more playoff talk. Obviously, we have now entered Super Bowl week. It's a fascinating time. I know neither one of our teams have made it thus far, but it's the NFL playoff time, Super Bowl time. It's always an experience. Sit down with family and friends to watch this game, and it's just a culmination of everything leading up to it all season. Everything that these players have been through, injury wise, off the field, on the field experiences. It's a moment in time that people won't forget. It's history. But before we dive into today and talk about the Super Bowl, let's continue to like, view, and subscribe everything on our channel. We appreciate the continuous feedback, all the comments we get, all the messages we get. We appreciate it all. Check out our three sponsors: Driftless Quality Wear, Bocker Auto Group, and Not Vintage. That is KNOT Vintage. You can check them out on socials or their website at notvintage.com. For more info on that, you can also use the code 365U for 10% off. That is store wide. Any t-shirt that you find on the website that you like, any favorite player that's out on a graphic tee, uh, from musicians to producers to NFL players, WWE, whatever it is, those are out there. Go grab your graphic tee. You will not regret it. The quality is A plus. Also, again, and I will be receiving another edition of t-shirts, and we cannot wait to show you all the new t-shirts that we have selected. All right, Gannon.
Drop some guesses down in the comments and see what people think we're gonna get.
All right, yeah, you'll for sure see that on social media. But shout out to Joe, who is involved with Not Vintage. It's his brand, it's his company. He's the face of it all. He's doing a great job. Keep it up. We admire your work very much. All right, Gannon. Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles, this Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Let's rock with it.
It's the two horses, man. It's the 2-1 seeds. I saw the stat. They're both 16-3, both scored the same amount of points this year. I mean, there's just not a whole lot of differences when you look at these two teams, matchup wise and player wise and quarterback wise. I mean, there's just a whole lot. There's similarities with Andy Reid, used to be a coach with the Eagles back in the day, knowing a lot of the old former players that are still there. There's a lot of ties with these two teams. The Kelce brothers, there's just a whole lot. I think it's going to turn into a good matchup come Sunday because, Super Bowl is a big day. Everybody tunes in. Everybody loves Super Bowl. It's almost another national holiday in the U.S. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just really hard for me to not see the Eagles dominating this game. I don't say dominating like they're going to blow them out. It's just Aaron Rodgers said the other day on the Pat McAfee show, it's the best line he's seen in almost his 20 years of playing the NFL, like this unit that they have up front with the Eagles. That's winning football right there, and that's just with their offense with Jalen Hurts, and they can control the game because Mahomes is going to want to get the ball out. That's their offense. They're going to want to score points. That's how the only way you can combat that is running the ball and slowing them down. It's easier said than done, obviously, going against Pat Mahomes. These guys have it, and they have the defensive front along to get the pressure on Mahomes, and Kansas City just cannot match up on the O-line and D-line. Those are just some initial thoughts before we get into some more matchup stuff. What are your initial thoughts?
Well,
that's the glaring thing that stands out to me. Like, there's a big difference in the fronts for both teams. Other than that,
well, one plug I wanted to make before I dive into my thoughts is Personal Corner is hosting a Super Bowl party event this coming weekend in Arizona on Sunday. Gannon and I obviously have had the opportunity to be a part of some things with Personal Corner, so you're going to see some experiences through that experience in itself, and you're going to get an understanding of what it's all about. And if you haven't already, go join the Discord, check out the website, and even consider purchasing yourself a Juggernaut because the utility behind it gets you invites to events like this. So I wanted to plug that, make sure it's well known that Personal Corner has an incredible amount of utility that allows fans to be able to experience certain events like watching the Super Bowl with awesome people. But my thoughts about this game is, you look at it right away, and to me it's 50-50. You got speaking of juggernaut, you got two juggernaut offenses. You literally have two offenses that are coming to this game. Obviously, entering this season, there were question marks behind the Kansas City Chiefs and what it was going to be like to lose Tyreek Hill. Obviously, no one questioned Mahomes because we all understood the fact that it's Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, we sat there and wondered, well, what's that offense going to look like if they don't have a receiver? Arguably, probably a top three receiver in the National Football League. If the Chiefs don't have him, what's it all going to look like? Obviously, it was pieced enough together to add guys like Valdez Scantling, who has stepped up when healthy. Um, you got obviously your best receiver, your number one receiver in Kansas City's Travis Kelce. He's a receiver, literally in a tight end's body. The way he moves on the football field, he's almost unguardable at certain times. As we talked about this in previous episodes with playoff matchups, Isaiah Pacheco has stepped up huge as a seventh round draft pick. Jared McKinnon's playing his best football in his career. I just saw that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was activated. They just put a receiver on the IR. Did you see who
Cole
that was?
Hardman's done. He's done for the year.
That's another
Big
guy.
loss.
Huge loss. He stepped up major for the Chiefs this year, and a guy that you probably were looking forward to having in the Super Bowl. But yeah, Clyde's back. Obviously, I don't know how much that plays into it all, but with the Eagles on the flip side, you got a quarterback in Jalen Hurts who threw for over 3,000 yards, around 3,700 yards. He had 22 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
Should be the MVP.
Should be the MVP, but honestly, the MVP discussion is probably going to come down to these two quarterbacks.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think it's still Jalen Hurts with the running ability. I just want to intersect you there before we keep talking. That's the same stuff I'm running through in my head when you're looking at these key positions on both sides of the ball. It's just I'm giving the nod a lot of stuff to the Eagles here when you're looking at these different matchups. The best wide receiver options are on the Eagles now with McCole Hardman now with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Tight end, obviously you're going Kelce over Goddard, but Goddard's still a legit option. I'm taking Miles Sanders with that O-line over anybody. I mean, compared to Kansas City with that, they just have a lot more opportunities to play their game and win their type of football, the Eagles. I think that's the best way to put it. Because they haven't really got knocked off of that type of football all year. You've seen the Chiefs go through a little bit at times. Yes, up and down. That Colts game early on, they had to pull out, which the Colts were not very good all year. Or they got beat. Yeah, they got beat because wasn't that the game they got beat or some close? I can't remember. It was week 4 or 5. Bellamy, Lenny, or whatever. They were arguing and stuff at halftime. So, there's been some stuff there. And their defense, and the Eagles, you look at the secondary. Eagles secondary is better. Eagles front seven's better. Is Frank Clark going to go crazy and have 5 sacks for the Chiefs? That'll keep him in the game, but that's a lot to ask out of just a couple individuals on the Chiefs.
Well, you're going to struggle to have a pass rush in this game if you're the Chiefs because of the running ability.
It's just, and you're not, and then plus, you're having to defend his running ability. Mahomes is going to be able to escape the pocket, but he's going to be less mobile still with that ankle injury. They get away from the run game at times and they just sling the ball. There's just more tendencies here for the Eagles to have more success and for them to play their brand of football throughout more of the 4 quarters than the Chiefs, in my opinion. That's just what I'm looking at. And it's just, you're just sitting here looking at what they've done, the byproducts of both years. Yes, both teams are 16-3. I'm not saying the Chiefs are, completely. I'm just saying when you're stacking these two position groups on both sides of the ball, I'm giving a lot of the nods to the Eagles. Am I missing something here, or is this just...
Well, I think personally, obviously...
I mean, you've seen the Eagles, and you got a different idea with them. Obviously you hate them to a certain extent, but you've also had the respect now because they've dominated the division and stuff this year in the NFC.
Yeah, well, the respect will never be there.
It's a type of respect. It is.
But in a way, okay, so when I sit here and look at it, on paper, everything you mentioned is complete fact. At the sense that yes, the secondary.
But you still got Mahomes' will to win on the other side.
Well, you got Mahomes, but don't forget about Andy Reid. You mentioned it at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
having Andy Reid be the guy who gets fired from Philadelphia after success there, wins bowls with the Chiefs, and obviously is a major factor in the development of a guy, Patrick Mahomes. Development of just the team, that offense in general. Andy Reid doesn't get enough credit. I've seen certain people start to talk about Andy Reid and call him the greatest coach of all time.
Oh yeah, there's been talks. So I mean, what he's doing, turning around 2 different organizations now is crazy.
Well, you can't discredit anything that the guy's done. He had a winning, established culture wherever he is at. Proved it in Philly. Proved it in Kansas City. And Philly. I mean, there's got to be, obviously you're in the Super Bowl now, but in past years, there's definitely been regret there. And what could Andy Reid have done with our guys?
They sent off Alex Smith when Alex Smith was already an established NFL quarterback. Say, we got Pat Mahomes. We're trusting him going with that. I mean, then that's a byproduct of him.
He knew what he was doing. Obviously, you look at the situation,
Yeah,
how it
it's
all unfolded.
crazy. It's just crazy.
But yeah, so when you're sitting down and like everything you said, like I said, with the matchup on paper, the Eagles have probably more well-developed, well-rounded talent on both sides of the ball. But that's the thing is I don't think anyone like we've talked about this with our
Dude, they
friends.
almost have 80 sacks as a team, bro. Like
Hmm.
they had 78 sacks as a unit. Like that's hard to compete, let alone when you got a high ankle sprain only 2-3 weeks in and you're trying to scramble. If that O line can't hold the pressure. Like if there's pressure at all in Pat Mahomes' face that day, it's gonna be interesting to see. But then the flip side of it is everybody's talking about that all week. Nobody's the Chiefs are the underdogs first time, in their dynasty run right now. They're underdog in the Super Bowl. Like there's a lot of people nobody's really giving other than Chiefs Kingdom and Red Kingdom. Like there's not a whole lot of other people that are like, oh my god, like the Chiefs. But that's why I also think they're scary because it's Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's
Well,
this
look at
time of the year
last
anything
week.
can happen. It's the strengths and it's like what can you go on when times get tough when you're a football team when you can't get stuff going when your offense is scrapping. What can you do? The Eagles can hand the ball off and control the clock. When Jalen Hurts maybe isn't throwing the ball well, maybe some coverages, maybe AJ Brown's not getting open down the field. Maybe there's not some deep balls, for Devontae Smith. Those type of deals, they can rely on that run game. Can the Chiefs do that? They can at times, but I don't think they can withstand it like the Eagles.
Well, you bring up a valid point in the sense that yes, the Chiefs probably enter this game as underdogs,
They are. They
just a
are on the
bit
line.
on the line. And you look at the week before when they played the Cincinnati Bengals, all the trash talk leading up to the game, the
Yep.
stuff between the Bengals and Bills, and then the Bengals, Eli Apple talking,
Mm-hmm.
Burrowhead, Arrowhead, whatever you want to call it. The Chiefs love that, man. They fed off of
Oh,
that. They
love it.
love that energy, and so
Andy
do the
loves
fans.
it.
The fans love it as well. And obviously Super Bowl, that's another thing we should talk about a little bit. Is the Super Bowl crowd is weird, man. The Super Bowl crowd is weird because you're not going to get true like you think
No, it's big money people. It's kind of a washed up scene nowadays because the tickets are thousands and thousands of
it's
dollars.
an
It
entertainment
sucks.
event.
It sucks for the sports fan that just wants to go as a bucket list trip as you get older with your buddies to go somewhere and watch the Super Bowl. It's hard to do that now. It really is.
No, it is, but I think that's something to talk about in the sense that like that does play a factor
Yeah, yeah,
with Chiefs Kingdom, with Red Kingdom, whatever
yeah.
you
We'll
want to
see how
call
much
it.
red's in the stands.
And that's just something. I mean, it obviously same for Philly, but obviously when you look at the Chiefs, they're known for that Arrowhead atmosphere,
Hmm.
that loud crowd noise that you can hardly hear anything. And that's something interesting I was listening to a couple days ago is the Chiefs in their hotel. They actually set up so like they were breaking it all down. It was pretty fascinating. The coaches, so in the hotel, they have all their meeting, like their position meetings. So like they break it down, receivers, tight ends, linemen, quarterback room, all that, all their meeting rooms. They have all those in the hotel room. They put dividers up. They got their meeting rooms just like back home. Coaches have their own offices at the hotel as well. Obviously, I've never really listened to the inside look at what this hotel scene's like for teams at the Super Bowl, but they're there a whole week leading up in preparation for the game. And something I found fascinating that the Chiefs have done to kind of remain and get that sense that they're at home with the long week is their meeting rooms, position meeting rooms, they put up everything is the exact same in their meeting rooms as it is back at home. So whether that's a banner or a sign or certain chairs or whatever,
Just the comfortability. Yeah.
they got all that at home sense. And that's good because that's the same thing we're talking about with the fans and like everything is different at the bowl. It's a bigger event. It's an entertainment event. Uh, and as bad as it is to say, you're gonna see a lot of true fans having to watch this game from home. It sucks, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. That's just what it is. But I do think it plays a major factor in this game. Another major factor in this game I want to touch on, dive in a little bit more, is the Patrick Mahomes injury, the high ankle sprain. He's got two full weeks of rest before he steps on the football field on Sunday. He has the week
Mhm.
leading up to the Pro Bowl and the week leading up to the Bowl. Don't know how much he practices this week because it's Tuesday now. I bet their first practice is tomorrow. I'm guessing they had Monday off, meetings Monday night, and I'm gonna guess that they probably had a walkthrough today or meetings. Uh, but yeah, back into the season, these guys aren't practicing that much, and that's a plus for Mahomes because obviously we look at a quarterback like that, and it's not like Mahomes needs to be on that practice field slinging thing all the time. Like this guy can step on a football field and play this Super Bowl game with zero practice this week. Will he maybe not be as efficient the first couple plays? Maybe get a little rust off after the 2 week break. You might see that, but I'm telling you right now, my prediction in this game, individual prediction in this game, in order for the Chiefs to win, will be Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are going to have to connect a ridiculous
Huge.
amount in this game. Travis Kelce is probably going to have a monster, one of the best games of his life. And if he can't do that, then you're going to have to see the younger guys, the Valdez Scantlings of the world, step up and
Juju.
make Juju Smith. You're going to have to see them guys step up and make plays that we haven't necessarily seen all season. We've seen glimpses of these guys step up and make plays. You saw it last week. Valdez Scantling made a deep catch, big catch to keep the chains moving. If you get stuff like that where you can pick up first down after first down, the Chiefs win this game if they keep Jalen Hurts off the field. If they keep Hurts off the field and they're able to put up points, the Chiefs win this game. But I'm gonna take Philly, and I'll tell you why after Gannon's loss.
No, I just wanted to go off of what you were saying about the quarterback play and flip it over to Jalen Hurts. I mean, this is the second full year of being the starter, third year in the NFL. It's really crazy what's happened right now. If you get Jalen Hurts here on coming this Monday, being Super Bowl champ, maybe the MVP, this is the first new style of quarterback to officially get a Super Bowl. When you're looking at the dual threat guy who can run the ball and as a factor with their legs from start to finish of a game. When you really break it down with all the other type of quarterbacks in the league, with the Lamars, Justin Fields, with those type of quarterbacks, they've had some postseason success. Not obviously Justin Fields with the Bears. That's not gonna happen for a while. But this is a pretty cool thing coming up, and it's just Jalen Hurts' story. I think is so fascinating. I saw a breakdown of Saban this last week talking about Hurts after becoming the SEC Freshman of the Year, all that, losing as in the national championship as freshman, and then getting benched for two of the next year, and he sat that whole next year. And the biggest thing was when he was sitting behind Tua and being the backup, was he was working on his pass game and just throwing the ball. And Saban said how much that he developed because he understood that to get to the NFL, he had to work on his passing game because he could always rely, on his legs and kind of scramble and get out of the pocket in that aspect. But he knew that he had to throw the ball more efficiently, more accurately, to get to the league. And that was kind of the cool thing that Saban had him do while he was the backup, and told him to go to Oklahoma to work with Lincoln Riley to transfer because that was the most pro style and offensive ready, that he could be coming into the draft. So it's just him obviously betting on himself, obviously being a top recruit already at Alabama, but to go through that adversity and to take that head on and understand it was going to be part of the process, and then to go to Oklahoma, be the Heisman. It's just really cool because he's been at the high and he got really low and he's back at the high again. And it's just in a short amount of time. It's almost how Joe Burrow was last year, just those success stories of having to leave Ohio State and then almost winning it last year. It's just really cool to see these young guys making the impact 2-3 years in when people are drafting them. That's why there's so much pressure on these teams now in these drafts. When you have these high picks with these young quarterbacks, you don't know if you're going to strike gold and be in the Super Bowl in the year 2 or 3 of these guys, which is crazy. But it what gets these GMs and front offices intrigued. But the whole just story and the aura around Jalen Hurts and his mantra and his, I don't know, it's just mindset on everything is pretty second to none, and it's awesome to watch. It's the same way with Pat Mahomes. I know I've hit the Eagles a lot on the head this episode and all this, but I don't want to take anything off of the Chiefs and what they've done over the years and what they've built and already are building. So, but yeah,
1,000%.
you go what you want to say.
No, I want to second that because any youth athlete that has gotten to understand Jalen Hurts over the last couple of weeks, probably because you're seeing more of him in the playoffs than you typically do in the regular season if you're not a fan of the Eagles. So like eyes are on Jalen Hurts more than they've ever been right now. It's for the youth in itself, and I think it's amazing when you touch on his story, what he was able to accomplish with getting benched in the national championship for Tua with Bama, going to OU, then getting drafted to be Philly, then getting benched again in Philly with a team in Philly that couldn't move on from a guy named
I
Carson
mean,
Wentz.
a year ago you were talking if Jalen Hurts is even the right option in
You were,
Philadelphia.
you were. I mean, Philly last year. Philly had how many?
I mean,
No, did Philly have 3 first-round picks this past year or 2?
no, they traded one away in the AJ Brown deal, wasn't it?
Might have, but
I
anyway,
think so.
in
But again,
relation to
that's what
that,
they built around him. Gosh,
they were
it's
talking
just
about last year, like you said, they were talking about in the draft last year getting a quarterback,
yeah,
getting a quarterback. And yes, I'm all for stacking your quarterbacks, trying to find a way. I mean, the 49ers got a good problem right now. Uh, but that's another story for a different day. I want to throw in a side note. I was just when I was doing some research on this game, just looking at some stuff. I want to read this thing. It's actually interesting. It's a little side thing. Uh, so EA Madden's football franchise, they've ran this simulator for the last 19 years. 13 out of the 19 have predicted the correct winner. This year's one picked the Eagles to beat the Chiefs
yeah,
31-17.
I saw that.
That's 70% of the time this Madden simulator's been correct, which is hilarious. But
That'd be an interesting score.
they have Jalen Hurts absolutely balling.
I
Two eight
saw.
282 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing, and 88 rushing yards. So I mean, obviously, take it how you want. 13 out of the last 19. Interesting side note to throw in there that Madden has somehow predicted it. And in 2015, they corrected the score and the winner the right way. Completely correct. Fascinating. But before I let Gannon throw in his thoughts the last go around, I said that I think Philly wins this ball game. So when I break it all down, obviously I've had a incredible look at Philly this year, watching them play Dallas 2 times. And I would say arguably this is probably the best experience I've had watching them this season because I got to see them play with Hurts and without Hurts. So watching them play with Hurts, without Hurts, it's been interesting. It's been a tale of both sides. And when I watched them play without Hurts, when they played Dallas, realistically they didn't miss a beat. And that's something that Super Bowl teams are capable of. They
Yeah,
it was a shootout on
yeah.
Christmas Eve. We watched a complete shootout. Obviously, Dallas ended up winning the game, which they
But
should have. They were playing a backup quarterback, but they held their own. They put up points. Their defense came to play. I wouldn't even say defense came to play because it was a shootout. Both defenses were kind of just not non-existent throughout that
there.
game. Yeah, too many points scored that game. Anyway, when I got to watch them play with Hurts, it was when Cooper Rush played. So like this year, the way Dallas played, Philly was interesting, and it gave me a good view of what I expected to see with Philly. And I'm not going to lie to you, throughout the course of the year, I would have said Philly probably Super Bowl. And as much as it sucks to say, Philly was that team this year,
Yeah.
and
No, that happened. Really from start to finish.
they have all year, start to finish. It's been that way, and obviously with the Chiefs, you looked at them early on, and there were struggles, like you mentioned in the beginning of the year. There were times where you said, "Well, this could be Buffalo. It could be the Ravens with a healthy Lamar if they figure out throwing the ball. It could be the Bengals because the Bengals started off rough, then they picked up. The AFC was kind of wide open, but we said the same thing about the NFC, which is interesting because back a couple episodes ago, before even just playoff predictions and who was going to win and stuff like that, we kind of said the same thing about the NFC and how we thought it was wide open with entering the year. You looked at the Rams, you said, okay, they could probably run it back. They brought every single player back besides OBJ and added Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson. So entering the year, you were like, damn, the Rams are going back.
And then
And
Matt Stafford gets hurt.
Stafford gets hurt. Robinson never works out, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the NFC was wide open too. But that in my eyes, I just feel like I didn't give the Eagles enough credit. I didn't give
No.
them enough credit, and I'm going to give them their credit. I'm going to give them their flowers because I don't think the NFC was wide open or
Uh,
as is wide open as I called it. And I take that back now because Philly proved me wrong. I thought that we were going to start to see a decline with Hurts. I thought he was going to fall off a little bit. It didn't happen. Hurts is headed to the Super Bowl. I like AJ Brown in this matchup. I think AJ Brown has a big game. I think Devontae Smith probably has a bigger game than AJ Brown because you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You're trying to hold AJ Brown. Devontae Smith can step up and do the damn thing just as well. The dude makes monster catches. Like I'm talking, putting his body on the line and he is
Snags.
getting slammed to the ground, but he grabs it.
Snags.
And ultimately, what I do think wins this
All
game for
right,
the
you got
Eagles.
the final here. Let's hear it.
what I think wins this game for the Eagles is the rushing attack between Hurts and Sanders.
Yeah.
I just don't think that if the run game is on for Philly and Hurts is able to run, Sanders is able to run, I don't think you're the Chiefs defense. You're going to be able to get this team off the field and hold them from scoring points. I don't think you're going to see a lot of threes from Philly this game. I think you're going to see a lot of sixes. Now, if Philly can do that and they have that rushing attack, they're going to win the game. If they can't, it's a different story. But my main prediction here is Philly wins this ball game because of the rushing attack. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be.
What's your final score?
That's a damn good question.
Drop it on a final score here, and then I got mine.
Final score. Let's go 34. 34 to 21 Eagles. 34 to 21 Eagles. That's what I'm rocking with. I think that run game's going to be just enough. I think the Chiefs are going to put up a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a classic. I really do think it's gonna come down to the last couple possessions. I think it's gonna be a dogfight of a game. It's can the Chiefs run their weapons and their big guys to the very end to match the Eagles, and I don't think they can because their horses. There's way too many horses on the Philadelphia side on both sides of the ball, like Bryce said. And when the going gets bad, you have that run game to rely on from start to finish. No matter what it is, no matter what you got going on, no matter how bad or good Hurts is playing, you can turn around and hand that ball off with that offensive line there because they're going to dominate Kansas City up front. Kansas City does not have a defensive line, especially with Steve Spagnuolo, who likes to blitz a lot. I don't know what the hell they're going to do when they can't blitz, when they're going to start running the ball, because then it's going to be it's not a good equation then. So I got to go here, agree with Bryce. I'm going to go 28-24 in a really close game. I don't think there's going to be as much offense as we think. I think there's going to be some strategy going here. I think the defense at times is going to settle in here. I think both quarterbacks are going to turn the ball over a few plays. I think it's going to be a position guy winning the MVP here. I don't know exactly who yet, but I like the Devontae Smith pick. I think that's kind of a little dark horse, but since Bryce said that, I'm going to go A.J. Brown on the offensive side for being the MVP. Obviously, it's probably going to be a quarterback, but I'm just having a weird feeling there's going to be a few turnovers, kind of keeping the game moderate and not a whole lot of points, like a 30-some game, but 28-24 Eagles. They're just going to ride what they've been riding all year, and they haven't been able to get knocked off of that at all this year. And the only time they have been is when their quarterback was hurt. I mean, in the one game they dropped early on, it is what it is. The Chiefs have just been a little bit more up and down, and I don't think they have enough horses to match the Eagles at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce can only will you so much when you're going against the Eagles, in my opinion.
You made your MVP pick. My MVP pick is Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Miles Sanders.
I don't think that's going to happen with him and Hurts running the ball. But
no,
yeah,
I mean it's probably Jalen Hurts. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I just don't think there's going to be a corner be able to shut down A.J. Brown also if we're going to really look into this. I mean, you think McDuffie's going to be able to shut him down?
That's another thing. The last thing I want to say with this is I said that the Eagles will win this game because of their rushing attack. And the reason being is because I think that with the amount of passing they're going to be able to do, because
it's going to open it up.
Well, because of this D line with the Chiefs, when you think about it, they're not going to be able to rush the passer like they usually do. Like a guy like Joe Burrow who can scramble, but he can't run like Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
He can't. So
they haven't played this all year.
I don't think a guy like Frank Clark can take over this game because if he does, if they start blitzing and they start stunting in gaps, Jalen Hurts is going to run all over you. You have to key on two things. You're going to have to spy the quarterback. It's going to open up passing lanes.
They're going to have to drop back and play coverage all day, and I don't think they can do it.
That's why I don't think they're going to be able to. But yeah, I'm taking Philly. Gannon's taking Philly.
Let's go, man. That was another playoff. What was that, four-parter we got? Wild card, divisional
conference, Super Bowl. All four.
That's awesome. We got there. Yeah.
No, I'm excited. We were able to sit down and chop it up because last year we weren't able to do the Super Bowl one together, obviously. So to be able to sit down, talk football, talk Super Bowl, kind of cap off another year of the NFL season. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. Third year covering it, man. Third NFL season. When we got into it in 2020, and then last year, and now it's third season really covering. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Hopefully, we continue to take the steps forward where one day maybe we could be at the Super Bowl covering it in a fashion where we could talk with players, talk with coaches, and maybe that'll happen someday. Until then, we'll keep working. we'll keep grinding and enjoying the NFL season. But crazy thing is, in a matter of a month or two, we're going to be right back sitting here talking NFL offseason, talking free
Mock
agency,
draft
talking
coming up.
drafts, mock drafts. I mean, I've already started to look at this draft stuff,
Yeah.
and I mean, when your team's
There's
not
a
in it, you start to look at that stuff, and it's fascinating. It's awesome. The NFL offseason is going to be in full swing in a matter of a week. Draft in April, free agency back in March. I mean, it's
coming
coming
up.
fast, but hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Keep tapping in. Interviews will be coming again. Gannon's full swing into baseball now with a trip to Texas last week, a trip to Louisiana by the time this episode drops. So if you got the time, send him a text. Wish him good luck on this season.
Hey, big weekend coming up. We got number 1 team in the nation, number 4 team in the nation. We got a tournament coming up this week. We're going down, so it's a big statement weekend. We got 4 dubs last weekend, so we're lucky to get a top 10 in the rankings after this week. So it's a big statement weekend coming up for us.
For sure. It's important to note this is his last baseball season, so support him. Support him. I mean, it's been a grind that he's been through the last couple of years, so reach out to him if you got the time. Send him a quick text. Wish him luck on the year. It's going to be another great year for him and his team. So, like I said, hope you enjoyed this episode. Keep tapping in. Hope you enjoy the Super Bowl with some friends and family. If you got the time, sit down with your friends and family. Talk football. Enjoy it. It's the last game of the year. We all watch it all year, and it's fascinating ending to the season. But do it right. Do it with friends and family. Don't sit alone. You got people. Watch them with your people. Enjoy the game, and we will see you soon.